come on in. Hello, hello. Welcome everyone, and let me know if you can hear me and see the slides for tonight. I have dropped a link to the slides in the chat, so please let me know in the chat if you can hear me well and you can see our presentation for tonight. My name is Alexandra and I will be your host for tonight. I'm also the instructor of blockchain programming, so any questions you have about the course, I am here to answer. Great, thank you, Darius, letting me know that you can hear and see me well. Perfect. All right, tonight's agenda. First, we're going to get to know myself and also some of you to make sure that we tailor tonight's webinar for all of you with us live. We're also going to introduce some of the main themes of blockchain programming, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solidity, cryptocurrencies, and NFTs. And we'll take a little bit of a look at code, but mostly tonight we'll just be getting a bird's eye view of all the topics and introducing the blockchain programming course. And then in the course, which is 8 weeks, we do a lot of project building. So we're not building any projects tonight, but in the course you have a lot of projects to look forward to. So let's begin by getting to know those of you with us live. If you would like, please feel free to type in the chat. Let us know about you, like what is your occupation? Do you know how to code? And do you have any blockchain experience? That way I can make sure that I'm teaching at the appropriate level tonight. Same thing with the course. We always make sure that we're teaching at the best level for everyone in the course. Usually everyone is a beginner. So I can begin my occupation. I am a software developer and instructor here at Lumiwealth. And I began by investing in Ethereum back in 2017. And since then, I have been building smart contracts, decentralized apps, and teaching students like you, thousands of students online, how to do the same thing, how to build these projects in this new space. So Darius is saying, musician with no coding experience, but some experience in investing crypto. Right, no worries. Most of my students are complete beginners with no coding experience, very much like Darius here. So thank you for commenting, and everyone else, feel free, if you'd like, let us know about you as well. Here at Lumiwealth, we teach courses primarily focused in the financial space, but also branching out now into the blockchain space because it is so closely related to investment and finance. Okay, we also have some more comments from, let's see here, Anand, software engineer, hold Bitcoin and Ethereum, and coding primarily in Java and Scala. All right, glad to hear you have some experience. That will definitely help you build smart contracts if you do have that coding background. We also have Ash, I'm a programmer but no blockchain experience. Great, so the point of the course is to teach you how to program specifically for the blockchain. We have Jimmy, CEO, entrepreneur, beginner level in terms of coding, have researched the blockchain by reading 9 books on the technology. Great, sounds like you have a lot of experience in the blockchain side, but now you need to maybe get hands-on with some projects. So very glad to have you here. Nan says no blockchain experience. No worries, that's the point of the webinar and the course, to give you that experience and those projects that you can put on your portfolio as well. We also have Andrew, service engineer and general construction, no coding experience. Rick with no coding experience, but have crypto and enjoy trading, but would like to learn to build projects. Okay, so we have a mix. Most of our watchers tonight have no coding experience, but a few do have some experience. So we'll make sure to tailor for those of you that don't have that coding experience. We're just doing a tiny bit of coding tonight, really not much at all. Mostly we're just talking about the blockchain in general and the different terminology that you need to know before you can actually start building. All right, thank you all for chatting. And Before we begin our main topics, I want to let you know that we will be posting this recording on YouTube along with other free tutorials. So please subscribe and get notified on YouTube, where you can watch back previous webinars, interviews, and more. We also are on Circle. Of course, if you're watching live, you already know that. But if you're watching after the fact, then you can join us at lumiwealth.circle.so, where we host webinars and we have a community forum. And we also have a Discord, which we're moving away from, more focused on Circle, but we still do have Discord. So if you'd like to follow us or join one of the groups on Discord, you can as well. We also have Sean, no coding experience, but decentralized finance and Bitcoin investor or blockchain investor since 2017. All right, great. Sounds like we have a lot of investors in the chat tonight. It's definitely good to have that experience in at least, trading around the crypto. Although the course is more focused on actually building things like cryptos rather than investing them. But by building, of course, you will get a much deeper understanding of what to invest in, what you're actually purchasing when you do these investments. And if anyone has questions throughout the night, please feel free to ask. Any comments as well, feel free to post, and we will have time at the end for questions as well. So let's begin with our first topic of the night. Why should we learn about the blockchain in the first place? Why did Lumiwealth create this course, Blockchain Programming? Well, number one, there is a large demand for blockchain programmers as more companies are starting to incorporate blockchain technology, or new companies are just starting. There's a high demand for these types of programmers, but because it's a new field compared to other programming fields, because there's a new field, we therefore have this high demand, low supply. So it's a great opportunity to get started with learning specifically how to program for the blockchain. And you can build a lot of cool and cutting edge projects, which are exciting. Maybe those of you that already have coding experience, you'll find that the projects that you build for the blockchain are different from other types of software. It's all still code, it's still software, but it is a unique use case. So it's some exciting projects that you can build whether you have no experience whatsoever, or if you've already built projects before in other fields, like if you've built websites or maybe video games or just software applications. Building for the blockchain is a unique type of project that you create. So it's very fun as an experienced developer. And of course, as a new developer, we're going to teach you in the course how to code from scratch, but specifically tailored to the blockchain. So it is general programming knowledge that you will learn, but also applied directly to the blockchain. So the blockchain is changing the world in various industries. I'm sure many of you are already aware if you've been doing this investing into cryptocurrencies. Of course, blockchain is changing the world in terms of transactions as the largest way currently. Being able to use things like cryptocurrencies to make purchases, that is a huge way, and the first way really that this type of technology began to actually have some use in the world with cryptocurrencies. But beyond that, we also see a lot more ways that the technology can be used. The second most popular is NFTs. So these are big hype words, cryptocurrencies and NFTs, very popular in the media for sure. We have non-fungible tokens. Usually they're used to put up and then make some profit off of. But you can also use cryptocurrencies and NFTs in software. So although primarily they're used for investing in as the largest, most popular means, for developers, you can also use cryptocurrencies and NFTs incorporated into software, like incorporated into a website. So with blockchain, we see not just these popular ways that it's used, like cryptocurrency, NFT, but also it can be combined with other types of software or completely replace an existing software structure. And by software, we mean anything built with code. So something like a video game, we see a lot of video games incorporating blockchain technology, whether it's cryptocurrency that can be used in the game or NFTs that are used to represent assets that you own in the game, or if you're storing data that happens in the game and data that's generated in the game, you store it directly on the blockchain. All three of those are ways that a piece of software that's traditional, meaning non-blockchain, like a video game, it can incorporate blockchain technology in order to take advantage of some of the benefits of the technology, which we'll talk about later on tonight. Same thing with web applications, which means websites. We see the rise of Web3, where we have your website, which is a piece of traditional software. You build a website with code and launch it on the internet. But we see more and more websites called decentralized applications, which means they're using decentralized technology in the website. And blockchain is the most popular form of decentralized technology currently. So this is how we see blockchain affecting the world in other ways, more in the programming space, less in the popular hype right now. The popular hype space is the cryptocurrencies, NFTs, but in companies and software development, we see these other effects that the blockchain is having. Web 3.0 is the name of the next phase of the web, where currently we're in Web 2.0, referring to how websites are created, how the internet is run. And we see blockchain having this effect on the web itself, bringing it to a new phase, Web 3.0, which is projected to be in the future, where thanks to technology like blockchain and other technologies that are being developed or are not even been developed yet, but thanks to these new ways of coding, we see changes, huge changes in how software is created. So blockchain is having a large effect on the software industry. And we see that with large companies hiring blockchain programmers and small companies that are starting that start based on the blockchain technology. So those are some ways that blockchain is affecting the world. Any project or company or industry that uses software, it has the potential to be affected by blockchain. And we do see this a lot already. Like in the financial space, we see a lot of effects of the blockchain in the finance industry. But anywhere, even in something like music, if it uses software, because the blockchain is built with software as well, the two can be linked or can start to combine. So this is affecting traditional software, which had no blockchain whatsoever, because now the two can be combined. So for those reasons, the blockchain is sometimes called the future of the internet. This is referring to how it's affecting websites specifically. So those are a few reasons to learn the blockchain, because it is having this large projected effect in these very different industries, from music to finance to web development. Across all these areas, we see these effects. So this is a great time to start to learn the blockchain because it's still in the early stages. We don't have complete adoption everywhere in every software, but we do see more and more adoption of the blockchain technology every day. And of course, by learning how to build for the blockchain, you can be able to make better investments. So some of you mentioned that you have invested before. Well, with this course, you'll learn more about behind the scenes of how the cryptocurrencies work, how the smart contracts work, how to build them yourself. So you'll be able to read and understand what you're investing in at a much deeper level. And there are good job prospects. Of course, as I already mentioned, whole supply to demand ratio. We see a lot of investing in blockchain technology now, which does lead to a lot of good job prospects. So those are some reasons to get excited about blockchain programming. Now let's discuss some blockchains themselves. So this technology was first invented back in 2008 with the invention of Bitcoin. Bitcoin was the first blockchain, and it also invented cryptocurrencies at the same time. The Bitcoin cryptocurrency, which is tied to the Bitcoin blockchain. So relatively new technology back in 2008 was the first creation. Now, since then, we have seen a lot more blockchains pop up as well. More blockchains are being developed constantly, and you could even build your own blockchain as well. But there are some blockchains that are more popular than others. Like Bitcoin remains the most popular at this time. Second after Bitcoin is Ethereum, a very popular blockchain as well. And actually, Ethereum is the focus of our 8-week course. We're going to be focusing on Ethereum specifically because it is the most popular one for developing smart contracts, which we will talk about later on tonight. But if you learn one blockchain, then you'll find it easy to transition to another one because they have the same core technology in the sense that they're all the same type of software. They're all blockchains, but depending on which one you're using, like Ethereum, Cardano, Near, whatever blockchain you're picking, they will have their own differences, maybe their own programming languages, but at the end of the day, they will have these similarities. So Ethereum was built in 2015. And the reason that Ethereum became so popular, number 2 after Bitcoin, is because Ethereum was the first blockchain to invent smart contracts. So Bitcoin was revolutionary because it invented cryptocurrencies. Ethereum was also revolutionary because it invented smart contracts. And we'll talk more about smart contracts next, but yes, smart contracts make up the basis of combining blockchain technology with another piece of software, like combining blockchain with a website or blockchain with a video game. A huge part of that is Ethereum, and especially developing powerful applications that live on Ethereum themselves, that feature, these powerful applications, is thanks to smart contracts. Other blockchains like Bitcoin do not have that ability to store and run complex programs, whereas Ethereum does. And that's why we chose Ethereum for the course and why Ethereum is so popular. It would be more popular than Bitcoin, but Bitcoin was the first one created and got its popularity that way. So those are the 2 most popular blockchains today. And let's discuss what exactly are we talking about when we say a blockchain. Well, we're talking at the base about software. So some technology that was written with code. And you can visualize a blockchain just like the name says, a chain of blocks. So you have a long chain of a whole bunch of blocks and they're all linked in this chain. And the link cannot be broken. The chain cannot be cut because everything that happens on a blockchain is permanently recorded and permanently stored and publicly available, transparent for everyone to see. Now, it's not physically a chain of blocks. There's no warehouse with these databases. This is just a metaphor for the code structure because a blockchain is just code. The number 1 property to remember about a blockchain is that it allows you to establish trust between parties without any intermediary. The intermediary becomes the blockchain itself. So, for example, if I wanted to make a large purchase, like purchasing a house, I would have to establish trust in that transaction. Now, it doesn't have to be a purchase. It could be any kind of interaction, but the simplest to understand is a transaction. If I'm buying a house, I have to make sure that the transaction will be valid. It won't be a fraud. I have to make sure that the seller has the actual ownership, that they will actually transfer the ownership to me. They won't just run away with the money. So to establish trust, typically we add parties into the transaction. We add contracts that we sign, we add notaries or lawyers, we maybe include the bank to transfer the money. With traditional software or transactions. But with a blockchain, we can do the same transactions without needing to establish trust with external sources. And we do that by doing the transaction over the blockchain. What that means is I'm not actually interacting with any person. I'm only interacting with a blockchain like Ethereum. And what I'm interacting with specifically is a smart contract on Ethereum. And we'll talk about these next, but a smart contract essentially is a piece of code that lives on Ethereum, and it is a step-by-step process, like an algorithm that says what will happen. And it lives permanently on the blockchain. And you're interacting with that contract. So it's like you're pushing a button that says, do the step-by-step process. And in the house example, the process would be take my cryptocurrency and send it to the seller, and then send the ownership of the house to me. Maybe the ownership of the house is represented through an NFT so that you have that tracking. So I send them the crypto and they send me the NFT. Now, I'm not actually ever interacting with the person. I'm only interacting with the contract. And yes, the contract is playing the role of the intermediary. Now, you might be thinking, why would I trust the contract? Well, first off, the contract can never be changed. So once you put up a contract, like if I want to sell my house, I put up a contract that will detail the steps. Once I put up the contract, I cannot change it. So therefore, trust is established in that you know that the contract is not going to change at the last second. And also, a blockchain has inherent checks. So if you want to publish a contract or you want to buy something, the transaction doesn't happen right away. It goes through steps of validation. You get checked. Do you actually own that crypto? Have you already spent the crypto and you're trying to spend it twice? It's going to check, are you a potential fraudulent account that has done fraudulent transactions before? So we have this inherent validation built into the blockchain itself. And these properties, they help establish trust in the transaction. Because these smart contracts, they're autonomous, which means that when you interact with them, like when I say that I want to buy the house, I tell the contract, and the contract is going to run immediately on its own. It will do the validation and then it will do the steps. There's no other third party involved that has to approve or check it. Whatever the code of the contract says, that's what will happen. So if you can read the code and you like what the code says, you can see everything that it will do. Nothing can be hidden. If you read it and you see, okay, if I send the crypto, I'll get the house, and you are happy with the contract, then you can interact with the contract. If you're unhappy with the contract, maybe you see it has a security vulnerability or it's completely not going to send you the house, then don't interact with the contract. So with this transparency and this immutability, which means cannot be changed, with those properties that are built into every single aspect of the blockchain, that's how we establish trust. And this also means transactions can happen faster because you don't have to involve people, and they can happen cheaper because you don't have a bunch of companies involved to manage and help you pay the bank fees, pay the notary fees. But that is just one transactional example of me buying a house. But this is built into anything on the blockchain. So if I am buying an NFT, it's the same exact thing. I'm interacting with a contract that's autonomous, cannot be changed. It will validate first before it does anything. If the contract finds that the user doesn't have enough funds or they're doing a fraudulent transaction, then it will bounce back. The transaction will not go through. So we have much fewer hacks and frauds on blockchains, although it does happen, but it's at a much smaller scale than doing non-blockchain transactions and interactions. That's why we see a lot of financial companies picking up this technology, because if you're transferring around a lot of money, you're going to be at a high risk for attackers, and you really have to be careful about your security. So if you incorporate blockchain technology, you can take advantage of the built-in validation of the smart contracts. You may be thinking, who owns the blockchain? Who's running it? Where is it being stored? Where are the servers running it? Well, a blockchain is actually a peer-to-peer network. It is decentralized, which means there's no central office or CEO. There's no warehouse where all the servers are running the blockchain. Instead, the blockchain is run by nodes around the world, which a node is just a computer or a miner, like Bitcoin mining, which you may have heard of. And so if you wanted to, you could take your computer and connect it to Ethereum, and you could be part of that network. So that is how blockchains are run, if the blockchain is decentralized like Bitcoin and Ethereum, which means there's no CEO, and instead it's run by computers around the world, which are just users who want to connect their computer, and then that computer is now going to help keep running the blockchain. And in return, occasionally you get a small reward in the form of cryptocurrency for connecting your computer, because the blockchain will use your computer's resource power to help it run. So that is a broad picture of blockchains. Now, each blockchain, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, they may have large differences or just minor differences, but in general, they will all have those shared features where you have the number one property of establishing that trust without the intermediaries. So Bitcoin was the first one in 2008, then we got Ethereum. So Ethereum was the first blockchain to create smart contracts. And this really expanded what programmers can do on a blockchain. Because if you want to have a smart contract with a complex task, like managing your whole bank or taking out loans or minting NFTs or managing your shipping orders, keeping track of them, or running your online store. If you want to do those things over a blockchain instead of just over your regular system of software, to handle that kind of complex functionality, we needed the invention of smart contracts. And this came with the invention of Ethereum. Bitcoin can only handle simple scripts. So you could have smart contracts, but they're called Bitcoin scripts, and they're limited in what they can do. So if you want to have an entire piece of software, an entire application running on a blockchain, you cannot choose Bitcoin. Instead, currently the most popular is Ethereum. So in this course, we're going to learn how to build those kinds of applications on Ethereum. This could be a simple application, it could be an NFT, or it could be a very complex smart contract. So smart contracts, we already introduced them. They outline a step-by-step process, but they can also get complex. So if you have experience with coding, a contract is like a class. It can define what functions can run, what data is stored. So it can describe a complete application. We also have Andrew asking, can Ethereum run out of space for new contracts? Let's see. Well, currently there's no storage limit because how these contracts are stored and how transactions are stored is a new block gets added to the chain. So if I buy an NFT or I publish a contract, that transaction, which is the name we give for interactions, that is being stored on Ethereum by getting put to a new block on the chain. So this chain is ever growing. And that's why we don't have this storage limit, especially since it's being run on computers around the world instead of having to be stored in some database. All right, so smart contracts, it describes a computer program. So you could have a smart contract for a bank or an online store, or for a school, for taking out loans. But it doesn't have to be financial. This contract can represent any process. Like you could have a contract to represent your video game. And then you're going to just run the video game steps over the blockchain. So you can store players, you can add new players, you can allow players to move, store how much health they have, store if they died. You can do all that same functionality over a smart contract. And Solidity is the programming language for creating these contracts. So just like how I write a book in English, I have to write smart contracts in code. So I cannot just write them in English, I have to write them in a coding language. And for Ethereum, that coding language is Solidity. So in our 8 weeks, we will learn how to code in Solidity through these smart contracts. And other blockchains use other languages, but at the end of the day, if you know how to code, then you can easily pick up another coding language. So those of you that have experience in coding, that will give you a great leg up, especially if you know JavaScript, because Solidity is most similar to JavaScript, but it still has its own differences because it is a separate coding language and because you're building a specific type of application. You're building smart contracts. So you don't build a website or a game, you're building a contract which could store all the same features, but it's in a different format. And if you want, you can get started with trying out some of these contracts at this website here, remix.ethereum.org. This is the official online code editor for Solidity. Now, of course, we're going to learn how to build contracts online and also offline, but this is a great website to just get started. So here I've included a sample contract. This is a very short and simple contract. Contracts can get, and they do get, a lot more complex than this. But just to give you an example, here is a contract that represents an NFT. So behind everything on the blockchain, there's a contract to run it. So if you want to create your own cryptocurrency token, your own NFT, your own contract, everything behind that you write in code like this. So if you want to, you can copy and paste that code here onto Remix. And this is just a preview of how you can code online. All right, so you can just try running out your contracts. And this is a great place for beginners to get started because you don't have to install anything. You can just test out some Solidity on this website. So don't worry if you don't understand anything or everything here because maybe you don't have any experience with coding. But the job of the course is to teach you how to code in Solidity so you can understand this code and you can also write your own contracts. So any task that you're given, maybe if you get hired at a company or you're going through the job interview process for a blockchain company, any kind of task that you're given, you can write in a smart contract. Like if you get asked to represent an online store in a contract, then you can write out all the functionality needed. And then that functionality will be run on the blockchain, and it will be run autonomously because it's a smart contract. We also have some messages from Jimmy. Game servers often use their own blockchains to ensure that specialty items don't get copied. And from Andrew, it's primarily security fraud prevention. Yes, without needing a trusted third party. Right? Any questions, everybody? So yes, here's an example of a simple contract. At the top, we have the license. Then we have the version of Solidity. We have a helper file that we're importing. And then we define our NFT contract. So this is a short and sweet contract. Then you can compile the contract to get it ready for the blockchain. And then on the next tab, you can deploy the contract with your own name and symbol. Deploying means you're actually putting it on the blockchain. And then you can interact with it once it lives on the blockchain. So here you can see everything that we can use on that contract. So this contract, because it's an NFT, it has all these different abilities like transferring, checking the balance of a certain user, checking the name of the NFT contract and the symbol, checking who owns a certain token, and you could add minting, burning, maybe loans, getting royalties, all of that. So everything on a blockchain, it's being run by these contracts. So anything that you want to build, you have to write it in this contract form. All right, so back to our slides here. That is how you can get started with smart contracts. And of course, in our course, the 8 weeks, we will learn how to build many different types of contracts. We'll learn how to build banks, online schools, stores, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, and many more. Anthony's asking, where do you test code before deploying your project? So Remix here is actually a great tester because when you're deploying to a test blockchain. So this is actually a great place to test. But you can also test on an Ethereum test network. So with many blockchains like Ethereum, there's one main network, which is where everything official is happening. You know, if you have a company and you're publishing your contract, you put it on the main network. But while you're developing, if you're still coding out, you're not done yet, there are other networks too, like test networks. And these are just clones of Ethereum, but they use fake Ether instead of real Ether. So everything is free because you can get fake Ether for free. You can also build a local clone of Ethereum on your computer. That's another great way to test, which means you're just cloning Ethereum on your device only. And you can also test for free that way. And that would be a very temporary blockchain. And then when you're ready, when your project is ready for production, you then publish to that main network. You publish it to the official network where everything costs real crypto and everything gets public. So great question. You don't need any cryptocurrency for our course because we're going to be using those test networks, which means you can test everything for free. Otherwise, you would lose a lot of your crypto pretty quickly because as developers, you have to test your projects a lot before they're finally done, especially on Ethereum, where when you publish, you cannot take anything back unless you have a proxy contract, which is like having this other contract to send it to instead of your old version. But really, at the end of the day, you cannot change anything that you put up. You can only create a proxy as a workaround. On other blockchains, you can actually change things in your contracts. However, the previous version will still exist. So it does depend on the blockchain. Anthony is asking any prerequisites. There are no prerequisites. We will teach you coding from scratch, specifically in Solidity. So we're going to learn basic coding topics like variables, functions, maps, loops, and more. So every week we learn new topics to build more and more complex contracts. So we start with some simple contracts, and then each week we build more and more complex ones. So no prerequisites, no previous experience. If you do have previous experience, that will definitely help you. You'll have a lot less homework to do. But if you don't have experience, that's fine. Andrew's asking, are there costs associated with publishing a smart contract? There are when you're publishing to the main network. So if I was publishing this contract to the main network, I would have to pay the gas fees for that transaction. So this is not very much. It's just a small fraction of Ether. But yes, when you publish a contract, just like when you do any kind of purchase on a blockchain, you have to pay the gas fees. But other than the gas fees, you don't have to pay anything. So you can see here, I have some sample accounts with 100 Ether. This is free Ether for the test network. And every time I deploy a contract, it's going to reduce that amount of Ether that I have just by a little bit. So if I choose that second one and then I deploy, you can see it just lost a little bit, a fraction of Ether, so not very much. But yes, every time you publish, you will lose a little bit for the gas fees. But that's it. Some of the projects that we build will be cryptocurrencies and NFTs, because you can create these with contracts in a contract form. And this really gives you high customizability, because in your cryptocurrency or your NFT, you can add any kind of behavior you want, any kind of user interaction, any properties you want, any data. You can put it all into the code. So we will have these projects in the course. Let's talk a little bit about these for those of you that don't have the experience, although a lot of you mentioned that you have already invested in crypto before. So maybe you already have some knowledge. Cryptocurrencies were invented back in 2008, with Bitcoin being the first cryptocurrency, meaning a digital currency. But it's not just a digital dollar. I'm not just using my credit card in the same way that I'm using Bitcoin. The difference is a cryptocurrency is backed by cryptography, and that cryptography is actually the blockchain. So when you spend a Bitcoin or a fraction of a Bitcoin, it's being tracked by the blockchain itself. So the blockchain is keeping track of who owns which coins at any time. That's part of the security features, the security benefits of the blockchain. And as well, before any transaction is done, there is validation checks. Before I can spend my Bitcoin, the blockchain will check, do I actually own it, or am I trying to do some kind of fraudulent transaction? So it's actually quite revolutionary when cryptocurrencies were invented, because they were the first to solve the double spending problem in computer science, which makes cryptocurrencies very hard to counterfeit. Although it does happen that there are hacks and frauds on the blockchain, it's at a much greater reduced rate than with another digital dollar like just USD. Because a regular digital dollar does not have that kind of tracking and cryptography that the blockchain provides. So the double spending problem is where you're spending the same money twice. So if I want to send you an image, then I can just email you the image, and then I have a copy of the image and you have a copy of the image. But with money, you cannot do the same thing. If I send you a copy of my money, then I just counterfeited the money because I have a copy and you have a copy, so we just doubled our profits. So that's an issue with digital dollars, is it's easier to double spend. Whereas with a cryptocurrency, it's very hard to do this kind of copying. And that's why, it has these security benefits. And there are many cryptocurrencies out there, like Bitcoin, Ether, ADA. I'm sure many of you have invested in some of these before. And there is a slight difference between a cryptocurrency and a cryptocurrency token. So a native cryptocurrency is tied directly to a blockchain. Like Bitcoin is tied to the Bitcoin blockchain. The Ether cryptocurrency is tied to Ethereum. ADA is tied to Cardano. So these would be native cryptocurrencies because they're used to pay the gas fees. So back to Andrew's question, when there are costs for publishing a contract, you must pay those in the gas fees of the blockchain. So for Ethereum, you must pay Ether. For Bitcoin, you must pay Bitcoin cryptocurrency. For Cardano, you must pay ADA. So these cryptocurrencies are used to pay the gas fees of every transaction. And these gas fees exist because you have to reward the nodes that are running the blockchain. So the whole reason you have to pay gas fees is to keep Ethereum running in the first place. So if you want to build your own native cryptocurrency, you would have to build a blockchain, which would come with the native cryptocurrency to pay the gas fees. And what you could do, you could make a clone of Ethereum to change it up a bit if you want, and call it your own blockchain, like Lumi blockchain. It's much easier to just build a cryptocurrency token, which they're both still cryptocurrencies, but a token is built on top of an existing blockchain. So something like Doge would be a cryptocurrency token. And this means you don't have to build your own blockchain. You can just build a smart contract that lives on Ethereum, and then the contract is the cryptocurrency. But for people to buy the cryptocurrency, they would have to buy it with Ethereum. So a slight difference there between the two. But if you can code, then you can build either one of those. But it's much faster to just build a cryptocurrency token because it's just a smart contract. Whereas a native cryptocurrency requires your own brand new blockchain as well. So very revolutionary when cryptocurrencies were invented in 2008. Of course, they weren't very popular at the time, but now they have become very popular. You see companies like Starbucks using cryptocurrencies or enabling it to buy coffee. You see a lot more adoption of cryptocurrencies. And along the same lines are NFTs, also very popular. Oftentimes when you think blockchain, you're thinking about cryptocurrencies and NFTs because currently those two have the most popularity and hype in the media. But of course, you can build a lot more with the smart contracts than just these two. But NFTs also very popular, which stand for non-fungible tokens. And NFTs are used to represent some unique asset. So cryptocurrencies, we care about how much Bitcoin do you have, whereas NFTs, we care about which NFTs do you have. Do you have Lumi NFT number 900? Or which one do you have? So you often see NFTs used with other software, like to represent ownership. For example, if you have virtual land, like in the metaverse, then how do you represent who owns what plot of land? Well, with NFTs, we can use them to represent ownership. Like if I have NFT 123, it means I have the plot at the coordinates 10, 10, and the plot is 100 units. So we often see NFTs used to represent ownership in that way because they're used to represent something unique, like one unique plot of land. But of course, they can also just be used for building some kind of investable product, like just be an image that then you just get traded around, and the whole goal is just to make profit off the royalty fees. That is the most common method we see NFTs being used because it's the easiest way to get into them. But programmers, we can use NFTs for a lot more. We can actually use them in software. So they have quite a lot of power, both cryptocurrencies and NFTs, just on their own or combined with other technologies, like using NFTs in games, as some of you were chatting about, where we were talking about game servers. You could use NFTs to represent what items or objects do you have in a video game that you can access. So it will check if you have the NFT, then you can access the item in the game. Again, we also already mentioned the virtual land example. So often you'll see them used for ownership in software. It could also be used in websites to represent what products do you own, which courses can you watch, things like that. All right, so those are two big topics, cryptocurrencies and NFTs. You can build really simple cryptocurrencies and NFTs. You could just build an image to represent your NFT, or you can have very complex ones. It all just depends on the code. So I could have an NFT to represent a video file or some audio, and then I could also have many more properties about it, like description about it, any other features, multiple pieces of data to represent it, multiple media formats. I could also have some behavior. So you could actually interact with the NFT. It could change over time, and all that would be in the code. So anyone interested in interacting with it, they can read the code and see exactly what it will do. So I cannot hide anything about it. Ash is asking, what is the metaverse? Is it a blockchain token or an NFT? So when we're talking about the metaverse, we're talking about some kind of digital land, like usually it would be through a website where everything is being recorded on the blockchain. So if you want to join, then you would typically represent yourself as an address, which is a unique identifier for your account. And if you want to make any purchases, like buy virtual land, you would have to make the purchase through your blockchain account. And if you want to interact with anything in the land, you would be interacting with the contract. So if I have a store in the metaverse and you're interacting with it, then you're really interacting with the contract. And then the metaverse is just the interface. Just like how you could have a website, like I could have an online store. It looks completely normal, but really it could have everything being done over the blockchain. All the purchases, all the refunds, all the signups, all the products being stored. All of that is being recorded and tracked and publicly available on the blockchain. Whereas the website, the metaverse, is just the easy way for the user to actually interact with the contract. If you're a programmer, you can interact with contracts directly. You don't need any kind of intermediary. You don't need a website. But if you're just a common user, and if you want a large audience, you have to make your contracts accessible. Number one way we see that is through websites, where you have a website that is allowing users to interact with your contracts. And sometimes you have an existing app and the company is just going to add blockchain features into it. We also have Sean, gas fees are terrible. Red Light Chain is the first EVM compatible gasless. blockchain. This is a clutch for any smart contract project. Yes, the gas fees depend on the blockchain for sure. At different times, they are much higher than others. And that's why we do see many new blockchains being created and getting investment, because they boast their new advantages. Like they'll say we have better gas fees, we're better for the environment, we're faster, we're better at scaling. So yes, we have different blockchains with different benefits, some with better gas fees than others for sure. Some blockchains are better able to scale. So even as the number of users increases, the gas fees will stay low, because the gas fees are dependent on how many users there are. So if there's a lot of users of Ethereum right now, then the gas fees will be higher. But if there is a new blockchain with no users, the gas fees will be much lower. Jimmy's asking, would it be more correct to say that the metaverse is an environment within which to interact with all the various aspects of blockchains? Yes, that would be another good way of putting it for sure. And of course, we'll see where the metaverse goes. It could definitely have more abilities over time. These blockchains, we could have a new one with a new feature coming and completely revolutionize what is available to be done. So it's a very exciting space, because we're at the forefront, the beginnings of a lot of this technology. So there's a lot of opportunity for innovation. All right, so now those are our big topics that we've covered. So now hopefully you have a better understanding of the blockchain space. Next, we're going to talk about the 8 weeks and talk about exactly what you will learn in these 8 weeks. And currently we do also have a sale, so I encourage you all to take advantage of our sale running right now for the winter semester. Anthony's asking, how often does the class meet each week? The blockchain class meets every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific or 8 p.m. Eastern for 2 hours. So we meet live every single week for 8 weeks. And here we can go to that page right here for the course itself, and we can check out some of the details. So the next semester begins in December 1st, but we have run a whole year of this course already. So you will have access to all of the previous courses, the previous semesters. You can watch back. And same thing with future semesters. You'll be able to watch all future semesters too. But the next live session will begin on December 1st. And it will last 8 weeks. I believe there'll be a break halfway through for the holiday season. But yes, 8 weeks total in terms of 8 classes. And the effort is about 8 to 12 hours per week, but it does depend on your goals. If you want to just watch the course, you can just watch along live. That's perfectly fine. But if you are interested in getting a job in this space, or you want to start your own company, start your own project, maybe your own, whatever you're building, your own contract, then you'll have to put in more effort. We have a lot of optional homework and challenges every single week. So it does depend on your course goals. And let's see here. You have 3 different options for how you can take the course. The first one is called self-directed, which means you just access the videos and the code, all the projects, instructor support, weekly discussion hour, which is a separate time. It's not the class, it's just a weekly live discussion hour. And that is the self-directed plan. The other plan is live classes, which is where we meet live. So if you want to ask questions live, you need that extra motivation, then choose this live classes plan. You also get live Q&A and help with projects and resume and interview prep. And let's see, we also have the project help or tutoring plan, where you get everything from the previous plans, but also help with building a custom project. And including software development time if needed, and 10 hours of one-on-one video or phone sessions or software development time. So if you have a specific project in mind, then choose that project help or tutoring plan if you want that extra one-on-one tutoring. So definitely going into a deep dive. And you can just add it to your cart to then make the purchase. And we do have 3 and 5 month payment plans available. So you don't have to pay all at once. You can pay on a rolling basis. You can also book a call with us if you have any other questions. We're happy to talk to you one-on-one over the phone or through email as well. I will drop an email in our chat. If you do have any other questions after tonight, you can email our team. And let's see here. Yes, then we can go through the 8 weeks too. So in week 1, we start with an overview of the blockchain space, kind of like tonight, but more in detail. And then in week 2, we begin coding. So we learn fundamental Solidity. And we also do all this through smart contracts. Then week 3, we slowly, each week, we increase the level of complexity. So each week builds on the previous week. We learn fundamental programming topics like loops, conditionals, data storage. Week 4 and week 5, we really get into more complex contracts with topics like inheritance, abstraction, libraries. And week 6, we learn how to build a cryptocurrency token and then an NFT token. We also learn how to manage projects offline with tools like Truffle, Ganache, MetaMask, and we'll get all the way to deploying an NFT to OpenSea. So the goal is that by the end of the course, you can get any contract assigned to you and you'll be able to build it for the company. So if you get asked to build a bank, you'll be able to do so. If you get asked to do a security check of the contract, you'll be able to do so. You'll have all the tools to solve any task that you're given, whether it's at the interview or at the actual job. That is the goal of the course. So 8 weeks total for blockchain programming. So I will be the instructor once again for blockchain programming. I'm also the instructor of our Web3 course along very similar lines. And we will have a webinar about Web3 tomorrow. So please feel free to attend that webinar as well. We're going to cover blockchain again, but this time from the web point of view. So if you're interested in the blockchain, I highly encourage you to join tomorrow's webinar all about the Web3 course because it's in the same exact field. So if you're interested in the blockchain, you'll definitely be interested in Web3. Does anyone have questions about Web3, blockchain, the course? Please feel free to ask away. I'm happy to stick around and answer any questions. Don't forget to use that coupon code before October 24th. Otherwise, if you buy 2 items at once, you get 10% off on top of that. So you can also use that anytime. But the 20% off is just for the early birds, which means you right now. So I encourage you to sign up so you can take advantage of our coupon. To sign up, you just have to add a course to your cart and then proceed to the checkout. And you can pay in full or you can pay over the 3-month payment plan or the 5-month payment plan, which you can pick right here. So you have those options if you'd like. And then you'll be enrolled in the course and you'll immediately be able to access the previous semesters. So you can start watching right away all of the past year's semesters and get ready for the live classes starting in the winter. And Ash is asking what companies, for example, are hiring developers for Solidity. Companies from large to small, like all the way from Google, Facebook are hiring Web3 developers, blockchain programmers, and small companies local to you could look up many companies on maybe Indeed, look up blockchain programmer, be able to find many companies locally. I recommend starting applying for small companies, and as you have more experience, then you can apply for larger companies. But yes, many companies, whether they are blockchain specific or not, they could still be hiring for blockchain programmers. So something like Google, they're hiring Web3 developers. A smaller company that's blockchain specific would be hiring as well. And they might be hiring just for blockchain programmers or Web3 developers in general. It might not be Solidity specific. It depends on what blockchain they're using. If they're using Ethereum, it will be Solidity specific. And odds are they are using Ethereum. But if they're using their own blockchain or another blockchain, then they'll be requesting for another programming language. But if you demonstrate that you have experience in one language, then it's very easy to pick up another blockchain or another language. Because at the end of the day, it's all just blockchain programming, and you can easily transfer your skills from one language to another. Any other questions for me tonight? I hope to see you all in our winter semester. Thank you all for joining. Great questions tonight. Again, feel free to email us or drop a message to us at circle, lumiwealth.circle.so. You can direct message us, direct message me, or make a post. Be happy to answer any other questions. And yes, very excited for the winter semester. Our fall semester is just wrapping up now, so we'll start again in December. And don't forget, join me tomorrow at the Web3 webinar, completely free. Tomorrow at same time, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, we'll talk about Web3. Andrew's asking, is one blockchain inherently more secure, or does their security come from their popularity? Well, it doesn't come from their popularity. It comes from their code, the code behind the blockchain. So currently, I wouldn't be able to think of the most secure one at the top of my head because they all have very similar securities, but I can predict that there is one right now, or the one that will come in the near future, that will say that they have improved security because of XYZ, because they've added some kind of new security feature. But currently, I can't think of one that's especially more secure than the others. They're all going to have the same kind of validation. It does depend on which proofs they're using, like proof of stake, proof of work, which will also impact their speed, their gas fees. So yes, it does depend on how the blockchain is built itself. Thank you, everyone. And yes, I hope to see you tomorrow at the Web3 webinar, or in December when we begin week 1 of our winter semester. Brand new semester coming in December. All right. Thank you, everyone. And if we have no further questions, then yes, I'll see you online or next time at another webinar. And yes, you can copy the chat. There's no way to download it, but you can just copy it all at once. I will wait for you to copy it then. You can just select it all and then copy it. I'll just try it on my end now. Currently, Circle doesn't have any way to just download the chat, but you can copy and paste it. Yes. Rick is asking or saying you guys should accept crypto as a payment option. Yes, we are working on that feature. If you would like to pay in crypto, then you can reach out again to our email, alicia@lumiwealth.com. Yes, definitely in the works. Okay, great. Glad you're able to copy the chat. And yes, for any special payment type requests, please email our team. We'd be happy to answer. But yes, I agree. We should for sure have it added directly into the checkout. Thank you everyone for joining me. And if we have no other questions, then I will end the stream now. So thank you all so much. This has been Alexandra from Lumiwealth. Don't forget you can rewatch this on YouTube when we publish it there at our Lumiwealth YouTube channel. And I will see you all next time.